Hello everyone, thank you for bearing with me as I try to recover. I'm not 100%, my voice or throat I should say still hurts a little bit, but we will get through it. We are almost at the end of the semester, so again, thank you for accepting that there wasn't a video last week or video feedback, but hopefully the written communication was sufficient and we can just get moving in the right direction. So let's get started with the group assignment or group project. I really want to touch base on this. This is something that I do not have an example for. You are the guinea pigs for this assignment, but it is not supposed to be a trick question type of assignment. It's not supposed to be very hard. I know group projects specifically online can be really hard, but it is required. So I try to do something that we can grade, have a little bit of fun with, obviously grow those team communication skills, but also, learn a little bit. So, cultural communication, cultural values is one of my favorite chapters. I think in a global society is very necessary to be able to understand, so there is less conflict and less communication. But let me digress, and I'm going to look over a little bit here and there at my screen so I can talk about that group project with you. So the Grouptopia project is simply should start with you reading the cultural chapter. I believe it's chapter 3. So you reading chapter 3, so you can fully understand what all the values are, how they're defined, and what they mean. Once each member independently has that basis, you understand, then you can go into the discussion and the planning portion. Of course, you can plan out beforehand, but I'm saying ideally here, you would have a foundation, or in unison have a foundation while planning out kind of how the group would divide up the work. It is up to you, but it should be more or less equal. So you find the strengths and weaknesses within yourself and you communicate that within your group and you find what works best. You can do one value per person. I don't know, it's up to you, but really, once you read the chapter, you should be having discussions in how to kind of break down the project. Then you should move forward into the research portion of the assignment, where you start thinking of what countries do you admire, or as a group discuss kind of hey, what are our top 3 countries that we've always wanted to visit, that we really like, they look like they have a good foundation, we kind of really like their culture. Pick those 3 countries, for example, and do a little research to see where they fall in the cultural values. Once you do that, you can start reflecting on, all right, now that I have this base foundation of what this means, I've picked some countries to research to kind of gauge how and what I like. And then as a group, come together to pick a name for your Grouptopian society. Tell me why, why you chose that name, if it's special. And then you start going into the cultural values portion. So you either pick, for example, low context or high context culture. As a group, you decide if you want it to be a low context society or a high context society. And after that, you have obviously that space and you can, exceed those 4 lines and explain why, right? So start explaining why that would make a difference. Why would that be an ideal cultural value for you all and why that was chosen? So go into depth. It shouldn't necessarily just be, we chose it because we all like Japan and so that's it. No, that's not detailed at all. You can talk about certain specific examples. You can talk about what, that value actually means or what it looks like. There's a lot of different ways to go into depth to explain what that means and why you chose it. So the other thing you'll do is with each little cultural value section, you will see define the value that was chosen. So as a group, once you decide if you do low context or high context, for example, let's say we chose high context, then you will define that term. And it's very easy because you just have to look in your textbook and define that term. So again, these aren't supposed to be like trick questions. It's not supposed to be super difficult. It's really about coming together as a group and just having a few discussions, some independent research and reading, and figuring out kind of how you as a group would love to see a culture come together and what those values would look like. That is it. The very last thing that you would do is explain what countries, ideals, values did you research as a group, and what was those inspirations for your Grouptopian. So here is where you can talk about what you looked into, what values in society did you admire, so it kind of led you through a path to figure out where it fell into the values, and things of that nature. So there are 4 cultural value sections, as well as the one overarching question at the end where you talk about your research process. And at the very top, you just tell me who's in your group. You pick a Grouptopian society name as a group, and then explain why you chose it. And that's it. It is due on the very last day in week 8, which is Wednesday. We have a shorter semester. Please do not think our semester ends on week 8 on Sunday. It's in the syllabus. I've thrown it a lot everywhere. Our semester ends March 9th on a Wednesday. So one person from the group will need to submit the group project. That's it, by Wednesday. I am opening up week 7 as well as week 8 because we have a shorter week. I want to give you all those who are proactive an opportunity to kind of finish ahead if you'd like, and just make sure that you check your emails and stay in touch with your group if necessary. But that's it for the group project. I will say that in week 8, regardless of who is chosen to submit the group project, everybody needs to review the Wednesday tab because everybody needs to independently submit the individual group evaluation worksheet, where you will evaluate yourself as a group member as well as every single group member that you had. Because what I do is I use that to compare amongst your entire group to make sure that it all plays out so everybody gets the grade that they deserve. So if we have, 3 of the 4 group members telling me that Daniela did nothing, and you've ranked her, and so that's going to be a conversation. Nobody is going to get the grade that they have not earned. I hated group projects where everybody just got the same grade and you thought you can coast. That's not how it works. That's why these evaluations are really important, and that's why you're going to fill it out so I can make sure that everybody gets the grade that they deserve. So that's it for the group project. I want to go into week 7. What you'll see pretty early on is that it's a lighter load. For Monday, I would encourage you to read chapter 13, but there are no discussion questions that are attached to it. I want you to read chapter 13 for your own personal growth and then continue to focus on your group project. Tuesday, it is a keep working on your group projects. It's a lighter load, and all you have to do is answer a few group member update questions. Wednesday, again, read chapter 6 about social media and new technologies, but you don't have discussion questions and you should be focusing in. So I would say I've had a few of you reach out to me last week, and I would say like 1/4 of you I know are halfway through the project. So you can easily have it done by week 7 because I've given you a lot of a lighter load, just to put it into context. So week 6, or chapter 6, my apologies. Chapter 6, you do not have discussion questions. Keep working on your group project. And then Thursday, it is about chapter 15, which is about workplace communication. And you do have a few discussion questions that talk about interviewing, ways to find jobs, and so on and so forth, which is very important because interviewing is very much a skill. And it's a skill that does not transcend age or maturity. It's something that needs to be learned. And if you don't learn how to sell yourself basically in an interview, that can really hinder your progress. So we're going to touch base on that just a little bit to get the wheels flowing. But again, week 7 is very much group oriented. So this week is very much getting into contact and staying into contact with your group members. All right, and then week 8, like I said, I'm opening up both weeks because we have a shorter week. You will not have a video for week 8. Instead, you will see that there is a blurb that says the semester ends on Wednesday. I will wake up bright and early on Thursday, finish grading the remainder assignments, and then post final grades, and you will be officially done once I send that final email. So stay tuned for that. But for our week 8, which you can do between now and then, it is a small course evaluation. It's completely anonymous. All you have to do is submit the submission page and attach it into the Dropbox. Can you tell I'm still sick? I'm all over the place. Bear with me. So it is quantitative and qualitative. I really do appreciate the feedback. So please do take a moment to answer and give me some details of what you liked, what you didn't like, if there's any improvements, things of that nature, so I can kind of grow as an instructor. So again, I do not need your answers. It's completely anonymous. You can be 100% honest, but you are submitting the submission page so I can see that you actually have completed it. The second thing for Monday is completing the post assessment. That is, if you remember, in week 1, you completed a pre-assessment in Microsoft Forms. This is the post assessment. So we are at the end, and you will complete that again in Microsoft Forms. So it is an external link that will send you to that form. You fill out your name as well as the other questions, and then you submit that. And me on the back end will be able to see who has submitted it by the name that you've written. That's it for Monday. Tuesday is nothing. It's just telling you to have a final chat with everybody. Basically, you should be done with your group project at that point. And then Wednesday, it is completing the individual group evaluation form and every single student submitting that independently and privately, because it should be very much honest. And then one person from each group submitting the group worksheet or group project. I don't need multiple copies. Figure it out. One person just needs to submit it. And that's it. You do still have an opportunity to complete the extra credit assignments, which is a total of 10 points. So for example, let's say you got an 80 on your speech. You can think of it that way, that those 10 points would make that speech be a 90. So 10 points can make a difference. I've personally seen many a times where those 10 points have pushed students to the next letter grade. So they were at a B, they took the time to do the extra credit, and now they were an A. And all sorts of letters, but that's always very exciting, but you will get the grade you earned. So it's very important for you to do it to benefit yourself. That is all I have for you. Hopefully you have a more in-depth understanding about this group assignment. It should not be super stressful. It's just kind of communicating and having those short discussions to kind of better understand how your group wants to flow as a group-topian society, and making those choices and writing out, and then breaking up that work, and then completing the assignments. Like I said, week 7, very light load. So hopefully you have that time to kind of break down the assignment, figure out what works best for everybody, and I'm very excited to read this whenever the time comes. So take care, and we'll talk soon.